Good morning. Okay, so everyone is kind of freaked out about the Section A part, so I wanted to go ahead and walk through Section A again using a released item. For those who saw the extra credit or came to the extra credit, this one is going to look really familiar to you. This is the 2018 released item, so I'm going to go ahead and write that. I'm going to ask you guys to annotate. So 2018. And this is one I'm really familiar with. This is one of the ones that I've trained teachers on how to do. So we're going to walk through this together. And we are going to do it together. I am going to be putting my phone in and out of the screen because I'm going to go ahead and do some timing for you guys. Walk slowly and then go quickly to help you guys as well. So the first question, remember, is identify the author's main idea. So this should be a statement of opinion. That is something that I see a lot from students, that they want to give me a topic as opposed to a statement of opinion. And that's why that formulation of the research question is so important. This should be your main idea, has been two parts for the last several years, and I would anticipate it being again. It's two buckets. They're looking to see that separating really the stronger students from not. And usually we see the statement from two places. And that's going to come from really annotating this well. You are then going to explain, not evaluate. I saw several people talking about credibility in this question, and you shouldn't do that. The author's line of reasoning. So how this is put together. Claims are the name of the game. They're looking for accuracy, and then those connections, which could be evidence, lenses, appeals. And it should be that walkthrough. And then this is when you evaluate the effectiveness of the evidence, not the author. I saw that several times. It should be the author of the evidence. And you're looking for relevance and the credibility of the author of the evidence, which was another big issue that I saw from students quite a bit. Okay, so that's a nice little review for you, and we'll talk about setup and everything in a moment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, the test itself is 30 minutes. Not a ton of time. You guys are not reading, and I'm going to adjust this just a tad. You guys are not reading to just read. You're reading for a purpose. So you should be marking and annotating anything that you see that you know is evidence and know is claim immediately, because then you can start talking about line of reasoning. So I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for 5 minutes. That's about as long as it should take for you to go ahead and annotate. So you can see I have my timer there for 5 minutes. I'm going to scooch this out of the frame a little bit, so that way you guys can still see what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and push start. First thing I'm going to do is, what is the research question? How does fiction impact the brain? Immediately. And I drew that because we have fiction and brain and on fiction. So that was a giveaway for me. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking for claims. So claim. Right there, talking about this idea of neuroscience. This is coming straight from the author, claim. Ooh, researcher. So this is going to be evidence. Here, this is all going to be evidence, because it's coming straight from this study from neuroscience and neuroimage. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to flip this over now. Blah, 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 blah. This is not coming from anyone directly. Looking. So this is going to be a claim. There's evidence. Perfect. So that's going to be evidence. This comes before that. It doesn't signify evidence. That's going to be a claim. Raymond My dude right here is going to be evidence because he's a psychologist. It's not coming directly from the author. Perfect. There's an exercise that hones our social skills. Research, another body of research, that's going to be evidence. Fiction is going to be, this is going to, talking about Dr. Oatley, is going to be evidence. These findings affirm, this is going to be a claim. So I've gone through already and just said claim, 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 evidence. Now I can go, I still have 3 minutes, so I'm going to go back through and just make sure that I've hit everything that's actually claims and evidence. Like, for example, I went back here, engage this capacity as we identify the longing and frustrations. That is actually a claim from the author. Going back, claim, 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 super happy with that. Back through, claim, evidence, cool. Okay, so I'm going to pause my timer because I'm at 2 minutes and 44 seconds. So I've gone through and I've annotated that. That's how you have to be reading, is you have to be reading that just for what you are looking for. Now what you can do is go back and say, okay, let's start reading this for a purpose. I have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Let me start looking for that main idea. All right, so I'm looking at how fiction impacts the brain. So I'm going to go ahead and resume my timer. All right, so I'm going through, but new value of fictions of buying. Okay, so somehow it's talking about fiction. Ooh, got it. Stories, research, and even change the way we act in life. Okay, so that is, to me right now, possible main idea. Awesome. All right, so and they're talking about stimulation. This is that nice little chunk right here, that this is all about, this whole chunk right here is all about stimulating the brain. All right. Cool. So I'm still reading, and it's still the same thing. It's still talking about like stimulating. It's offering a research. Beautiful. Okay, it's, of course, is unequivocated, beautiful, or unequaled, I apologize. Okay, so I'm looking for, again, what the other part of this is. Because I know, knowing AP, they always are looking for a second part. So where they start talking about it, where they stop talking about stimulation, they start talking about social skills right here. So I'm going to put question mark main idea because I have a feeling, just because those are the two parts they're kind of looking at, that they are going through. And I have a minute left right now. Again, they mentioned this idea of social life. So I have a feeling, because that's been reiterated twice and there's such a large chunk about this, because this is chunk social skills, that the main idea for this is going to be both about stimulating the brain and about improving our social skills. Just so you guys can see, I'm still at 46 seconds, so I'm going to jot that down. And I'm going to pause the timer. I had 30, so I was able to do that in 5 minutes. Going through, you have to go through it with an approach. You have to mark first and then go. You can't read it for the sake of reading it. You'll never get through the text. And that's regardless if you know the passage or not. It's going to be the same thing. So that's kind of the first thing. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over to the back. And I'm not going to time this out. So I'm going to put for my question 1 that I know, and look at how short this is, that fiction stimulates the brain. That was chunk 1. And improves social skills. That's all you need for the main idea. And you would get full credit. Okay? So for question 2, what is really eluding people is the fact that that you have to walk me through the article. So the reason we annotate the way that we did is because it should give you some insight. So if I flip back to my paper, the first thing they start with is a claim saying that even though reading they start with a nice little anecdote right there about reading. Okay, so I'm going to flip back to my pre-write, and I'm going to write anecdote just to get me started. And what does that do? Introduces the idea that that fiction is making a comeback through neuroscience. Perfect. Okay, so then I look at my next part and I go back. Well, then they go into the first claim that, and actually, I've done this before. Brain scans are a feeling, that's actually evidence. They go into their first claim, which is right here. Stories stimulate the brain. So you could say it introduces this idea of neuroscience. And they do that, and that's connected because they use a scientific lens, brain scans. All right, then I'm going to flip back, and I'm going to say, okay, so it's going right into the next piece of evidence. The author talks about findings. And so there, the findings are going to be, and they're looking for your ability to differentiate, is going to be that words activate brain through Broca's area. Okay? So that is what you guys have to do. You have to just walk me through it. And if it helps to do that, do that. And that's what I'm going to ask you guys to finish tonight. Is I want you guys to finish, and I want you to submit or cam scan on Schoology. I want you to write it and give yourself about 10 minutes to finish that. Okay? All right. So question 3. Here's where I'm seeing the struggle bus. I'm seeing you guys are making this far harder than it needs to be. You should be picking evidence that is obvious, that has an obvious author and an obvious relevance and an obvious ability to analyze credibility. And this one gives 2 really good ones. It gives the Oatley study, and it gives the neuro image study. Okay, don't make this harder than it is. All you have to do is tell me 2 things. Credible, author, relevant. So I'm going to look at that's all you have to do, and it can be short. They are looking here for Raven, and so I'm letting you guys do this one on your own, because you guys are pulling these really silly, hard ones, and you don't have to. Pull the easy ones that you know you can discuss. Use what you have. For example, the neuroimage study, people first of all said it was 2006, and that was outdated. Other people said that they felt as though they didn't have any context. For credibility. Some people felt like they may have had their own interests, because it is a neurological organization. And so those are all things. But The study, super relevant because this is the idea of words having an impact. And so that is going to be super, super important. So I'm going to have you guys do this. Take 10 minutes to do this part as well. Write it out. You guys, and then we'll talk about them first thing on Wednesday morning. You guys can do this. I think you're making it way harder than it needs to be. Walk me through. And for question 2, pick the most important claims. Don't pick everyone. Not necessary. Pick the most important. Not everyone. Okay? All right, guys. So this is what you guys are going to do. I'm going to make extra copies of this. Those who did the extra credit, I'd like you to go back and revise based on the video. And we will go from there. I also gave you number 1 to help you out. So, all right, guys. We will go over this on Wednesday.